The sudden silence aboard Flight 2817 was deafening as Captain Reynolds' voice crackled through the intercom. This aircraft isn't moving until passenger 14C is removed. 15-year-old Zara Washington clutched her phone, her father's voice still echoing in her ear. Justice was finally boarding this flight. Before we dive into this powerful story, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories about standing up against discrimination. How would you react in Zara's situation? Let's find out what happened next. The morning sun painted golden streaks across the Atlanta skyline as Zara Washington triple-checked her luggage in the modest apartment she shared with her father. Her nimble fingers brushed against the sleek laptop containing her astrophysics presentation, the culmination of 2 years of research on gravitational waves from colliding neutron stars. Got your boarding pass? ID? Charger? Malcolm Washington called from the kitchen, his deep voice carrying a blend of pride and anxiety that only a single father could master. Yes, Dad. For the 5th time, Zara replied, rolling her eyes but smiling. At 15, she was traveling alone for the first time, bound for the National Youth Science Symposium in Boston. Her selection as one of 12 finalists from across the country had been cause for celebration in their household. Malcolm appeared in the doorway, coffee mug in hand, his tall frame still impressive despite the slight stoop from years hunched over legal briefs. As one of Atlanta's most respected civil rights attorneys, he had taught Zara to stand tall and speak truth, lessons she'd absorbed along with her love for the cosmos. I know you're prepared, he said, setting down his mug to adjust the collar of her blazer. Just remember what we talked about. Zara nodded solemnly. The conversations about navigating the world as a young black woman were as much a part of her upbringing as learning to tie her shoes. The unwritten rules. The extra preparation. The knowledge that some interactions would never be just about her abilities or character. Text me when you get through security, Malcolm instructed as they loaded her luggage into his sedan. And when you board. And when you land. And when I breathe. Zara teased, lightening the mood. Dad, I've got this. The hard part was creating a model of neutron star collisions that accounts for space-time distortion. Flying to Boston is just sitting in a metal tube for a couple hours. Malcolm laughed, the sound warming the cool morning air. That's my girl. Always putting things in perspective. The drive to Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport passed with Malcolm quizzing Zara on her presentation while she checked her competition schedule. Their easy rapport had been forged through years as a team of two, ever since Zara's mother had passed away from cancer when Zara was just 7. In those difficult years, they had found solace in science, Zara gazing at stars through a telescope Malcolm had saved for months to buy her, Malcolm learning alongside his daughter, amazed at how quickly she surpassed his understanding. The airport bustled with Monday morning business travelers. Malcolm pulled into the departures lane, his grip on the steering wheel tightening. Premium economy boarding starts at 10:15. You've got plenty of time to get through security. Thanks, Dad. Zara leaned over to hug him, breathing in the familiar scent of his cologne. For everything. For the ticket upgrade. For believing in me. The premium economy ticket had been Malcolm's gift, a splurge for his budget but worth every penny to ensure Zara had a comfortable journey. Just want you focusing on neutron stars, not cramped knees, he'd said when presenting her with the ticket. Inside the terminal, Zara joined the security line, passport and boarding pass ready. She noticed the security agent giving her a second look as she approached the checkpoint. Traveling alone, the agent asked, examining her ID with more scrutiny than he had shown the middle-aged white businessman ahead of her. Yes, sir. Going to a science competition in Boston. The agent looked skeptical. And who purchased this ticket for you? My father, Zara replied, maintaining eye contact despite her discomfort. Wait here. The agent motioned to a colleague, who approached with a tablet. Zara stood aside while 3 more travelers were processed through the line. She texted her father, extra security check. Nothing to worry about. 5 minutes later, after verifying her information and asking her several questions about her trip, the agents finally allowed her through. Zara collected her belongings, the familiar weight of being treated differently settling on her shoulders. Once through security, she called her father. They had to verify my information, she explained, keeping her voice neutral despite her frustration. Malcolm's sigh carried through the phone. "You okay?" "I'm fine," Zara assured him. "Just the usual. Remember what I always tell you. Their behavior reflects on them, not on me," Zara finished. "I know, Dad. I'm heading to the gate now. Talk to you before boarding." Zara navigated through the crowded terminal, passing shops and restaurants filled with travelers. At a newsstand, she picked up a copy of Scientific American featuring an article on dark matter research. The cashier did a double-take when she paid with her own debit card. "That's a pretty advanced magazine for someone your age," he commented. Zara smiled politely, tucking the receipt into her wallet. "I like to challenge myself." At gate A23, Zara found a seat near the window where she could see the sleek Boeing 737 that would carry her to Boston. She pulled out her phone to review her presentation notes, glancing occasionally at the growing crowd of passengers. A family with young children. Business travelers typing furiously on laptops. An elderly couple sharing a bag of pretzels. The boarding announcements began, and Zara gathered her belongings. She texted her father one last time, "Boarding now. Love you." His reply came immediately, "Love you too. Show Boston what a Washington is made of." Zara smiled, squaring her shoulders as she joined the premium economy boarding line. The gate agent scanned her boarding pass with a warm smile. "Enjoy your flight, Miss Washington." With a deep breath, Zara stepped into the jet bridge, excitement about the competition finally overtaking her nervousness about traveling alone. Little did she know that her journey was about to become far more challenging than she had anticipated. The cool, recycled air of the aircraft interior greeted Zara as she stepped aboard Flight 2817. A flight attendant with a name tag reading, "Alicia Reyes," directed passengers with practiced efficiency. "Welcome aboard," Alicia said automatically, barely glancing at Zara. Zara navigated the narrow aisle, counting row numbers. The premium economy section started at row 10, with slightly wider seats and additional legroom that would make the 2-hour flight more comfortable. When she reached row 14, she double-checked her boarding pass, 14A, window seat. A man already occupied the aisle seat, 14C. Gregory Harrington, though Zara didn't yet know his name, was a picture of corporate success in his tailored charcoal suit and monogrammed cufflinks. His silver-streaked hair was expertly cut, and his manicured hands clutched both armrests possessively. A leather briefcase occupied the middle seat, 14B. "Excuse me," Zara said politely. "I'm in the window seat." Gregory didn't look up from his phone, where he was scrolling through email. Zara cleared her throat and repeated herself, slightly louder. This time, Gregory glanced up, his gaze traveling from Zara's face to her boarding pass, then to her simple but neat jeans and buttoned blouse. His expression shifted subtly from disinterest to displeasure. "Are you sure you're in the right section?" he asked, making no move to let her pass. Zara held up her boarding pass. "Yes, sir. Seat 14A." Gregory sighed dramatically, as if her correct seat assignment was a personal inconvenience. He reluctantly removed his briefcase from the middle seat but remained seated, forcing Zara to awkwardly step over his legs to reach her seat. "Watch the suit," he muttered as she passed. "It costs more than your ticket." Zara bit her tongue, settling into the window seat and stowing her backpack under the seat in front of her. She turned to look out the window, focusing on the ground crew loading luggage into the aircraft's belly rather than the uncomfortable atmosphere beside her. Gregory pulled out his phone again and made a call, speaking loudly enough for nearby passengers to hear. "Yeah, Tom, I'm on the flight now. These airlines, I tell you, the standards have really declined. Used to be premium economy meant something." He cast a sideways glance at Zara. Now they'll let anyone in if they pay the fare. Zara pulled out her scientific magazine, focusing on an article about black holes and trying to ignore Gregory's obvious attempt to make her uncomfortable. More passengers filed onto the plane, filling the remaining rows. When Zara reached for the air vent above her seat, Gregory shifted his newspaper to occupy more of the shared armrest. She retracted her arm, straightening her posture and taking up as little space as possible. "First time flying?" Gregory asked, his tone suggesting both condescension and disbelief that she could afford the ticket. "No, sir," Zara replied coolly. "I've flown before." He responded. "Surprising. You seem out of place here." The comment stung, but Zara maintained her composure. "I'm traveling for a national science competition. I'm a finalist." Gregory raised an eyebrow. "Really? What kind of science?" "Astrophysics," Zara answered, a hint of pride creeping into her voice despite her discomfort. "I've developed a new model for analyzing gravitational waves from neutron star collisions." Gregory chuckled, the sound entirely devoid of warmth. "Isn't that nice? And who funded this little trip?" "Some diversity program, I imagine." The implication was clear, and Zara felt heat rising in her cheeks. Before she could respond, a harried-looking man approached their row, checking his boarding pass. "Excuse me, I think I'm in 14B, he said, glancing between Zara and Gregory. Benjamin Cole was in his mid-30s, dressed casually in khakis and a button-down shirt, his kind face slightly flushed from rushing to make the flight. Gregory looked up with obvious displeasure. "You can't sit here either. I paid for extra room." Benjamin blinked, confused. "Sir, my boarding pass says 14B. That's the middle seat here." "I know what seat it is," Gregory snapped. "But I'm telling you, I've made arrangements with the airline." Zara watched the exchange silently, noting that Gregory's arrangements hadn't been mentioned until Benjamin arrived. Alicia, the flight attendant, noticed the commotion and approached. "Is there a problem here?" "This gentleman claims he's purchased my seat," Benjamin explained, showing his boarding pass. Alicia examined it. "This is indeed your assigned seat, sir." She turned to Gregory. "Sir, if you've made special arrangements, I'll need to see documentation." Gregory's expression darkened. "Check your system." "Harrington, Gregory. I always get extra space on these flights." Alicia tapped on her handheld device. "I don't see any notes about extra seating, Mr. Harrington. This is a full flight, and Mr. Cole has a valid boarding pass for 14B. With a dramatic sigh, Gregory stood, allowing Benjamin to access the middle seat. As Benjamin settled in, Gregory muttered just loud enough to be heard, "They'll let anyone sit anywhere these days. You people always want what you haven't earned." Benjamin's head snapped up at the comment, eyes widening as he realized what was happening. He glanced at Zara, who had pulled out her phone and was discreetly positioning it to record the interaction, her finger hovering over the record button. "I'm sorry, what was that comment supposed to mean?" Benjamin asked, his voice tight. Nothing," Gregory replied with false innocence. "Just observing how standards have fallen. Used to be premium economy meant something." Zara pressed the record button on her phone, keeping it partially concealed in her lap as the situation unfolded. The plane was nearly full now, with the final passengers finding their seats. Despite the growing tension in row 14, boarding continued around them, the rhythm of the aircraft preparation unchanged by the quiet battle of wills taking place. The atmosphere in row 14 grew increasingly tense as the final passengers boarded Flight 2817. Gregory Harrington made no attempt to hide his displeasure, sighing loudly whenever Zara or Benjamin moved and muttering comments under his breath about declining standards and the way things used to be. Zara kept her phone recording, positioned carefully in her lap. Her father had taught her the importance of documentation in situations like this, though she had hoped never to need the lesson. As the flight attendants prepared for departure, Gregory pulled out his phone again and made another call, deliberately speaking at a volume that ensured those around him could hear every word. "Barbara, it's Greg. Listen, the Atlanta office needs to review their premium economy booking policies." He cast a pointed glance at Zara. "I'm sitting next to a child who clearly doesn't belong in this section. Probably some charity case." Zara's jaw tightened, but she kept her gaze fixed on her scientific magazine, refusing to give Gregory the satisfaction of seeing her react. Benjamin shifted uncomfortably beside them, his earlier confusion about the seating arrangement giving way to realization about what was actually happening. He leaned slightly toward Zara. "Hey, I'm Ben," he whispered. "Don't let him get to you. Some people are just determined to be miserable." Zara nodded gratefully, but before she could respond, Gregory interjected. "I can hear you," he said sharply. "And I'd appreciate if you didn't encourage her. She clearly needs to learn her place." Benjamin's face flushed. "Excuse me? You heard me." Gregory adjusted his posture to take up even more space, spreading his newspaper across the middle seat's armrest and into Benjamin's space. "Some people need to understand that certain standards exist for a reason." "Sir," Benjamin said, his voice low but firm, "I'm not sure what your problem is, but your comments are inappropriate." Gregory smirked. "I'm simply stating facts. Premium cabins used to mean something. Now look at who they let in." He gestured dismissively toward Zara. "I have every right to be here," Zara said quietly, looking Gregory directly in the eye for the first time. "My ticket is the same as yours." "Your ticket may be the same, but we both know you don't belong here," Gregory replied, his voice dripping with disdain. A passenger across the aisle glanced over, then quickly looked away, unwilling to get involved. Another passenger 2 rows ahead turned around briefly, then faced forward again after catching Gregory's eye. The tension was interrupted by the arrival of Alicia, who was checking that all luggage was properly stowed. "Is everything all right here?" she asked, noticing the strained expressions. Before anyone could respond, Gregory spoke up. "Actually, no. This young person is making me uncomfortable. I'd like her moved to another seat." Zara's eyes widened in disbelief. "What? I haven't done anything." Alicia looked between them, clearly trying to assess the situation without causing further disruption. "Sir, what seems to be the problem specifically?" "She keeps encroaching on my space," Gregory lied smoothly. "And she's been taking photos of me without permission." He nodded toward Zara's phone. "That's not true," Zara protested, careful not to mention she'd been recording his comments, not taking photos. "I've been sitting in my assigned seat, reading my magazine." Benjamin intervened. "Ma'am, if I may, this gentleman has been making inappropriate comments since we boarded." "The young lady has done nothing wrong." Gregory scoffed. "Of course you take her side. You people always stick together." The thinly veiled racist comment hung in the air. Alicia's professional demeanor faltered momentarily, her eyes widening slightly before she regained her composure. "Sir, Delta has a strict non-discrimination policy," she said quietly. "I'm going to have to ask you to refrain from making such comments." "Comments? What comments?" Gregory affected an innocent tone. "I'm simply expressing concern about my comfort on this flight. First class used to mean something in this country." "This isn't first class, sir," Alicia pointed out. "This is premium economy." "Exactly my point," Gregory replied with a smirk. "Standards keep slipping." As the exchange continued, several nearby passengers began to take notice. A woman in row 15 frowned disapprovingly at Gregory. An older gentleman across the aisle shook his head slightly. Alicia, clearly wanting to defuse the situation quickly before departure, turned to Zara. "Miss, would you perhaps be more comfortable in another seat? We have a middle seat available in row 27. The suggestion that Zara should be the one to move to a worse seat in the back of the plane despite being the target of Gregory's behavior, was the final straw. "No," Zara said firmly, channeling her father's courtroom confidence. "I paid for this seat. I have done nothing wrong. I would like to speak to the captain." Gregory laughed derisively. "The captain? Do you think the captain has time for this nonsense? This isn't a school field trip, little girl." Benjamin's patience visibly snapped. "That's enough," he said sharply. "Your behavior is completely unacceptable." "Mind your own business," Gregory retorted. Other passengers were now openly watching the confrontation. The atmosphere grew increasingly uncomfortable as Alicia tried unsuccessfully to calm the situation. "Perhaps we can," she began, but Gregory cut her off. "Perhaps you can do your job and remove these people from my row," he said coldly. "I've been a platinum member for 15 years, and I won't be disrespected by a child who probably got her ticket through some diversity handout program." The blatant racism of the comment silenced the surrounding rows. Zara felt as if all the air had been sucked from the cabin. Her hand trembled slightly as she picked up her phone. "I'm calling my father," she said, her voice steady despite her internal turmoil. Gregory rolled his eyes. "Oh, please do. I'm sure he'll have lots to say from the projects." As Zara dialed her father's number, she could feel tears threatening, but she refused to let them fall. This man knew nothing about her or her father, yet he felt entitled to demean them based solely on the color of their skin. The phone rang once, twice, and then Malcolm Washington's deep voice answered. "Zara? Everything okay?" Taking a deep breath, Zara prepared to explain the situation that had escalated far beyond what she had ever expected on this flight. "Dad," Zara's voice wavered slightly as she spoke into her phone. "I need your help." Malcolm Washington immediately detected the distress in his daughter's tone. "What's happening? Are you still on the plane?" "Yes, but there's a man here who's..." Zara struggled to summarize the barrage of racist comments and hostile behavior she'd endured in the past 20 minutes. Gregory noticed Zara's call and his expression darkened. "Oh, calling Daddy to complain? How typical." Zara turned slightly away, lowering her voice. "He's been making racist comments since I sat down, saying I don't belong here, that I probably got my ticket through a diversity handout. He tried to prevent another passenger from sitting in his assigned seat, and now he's trying to get the flight attendant to move me." Malcolm's tone shifted from concern to controlled anger. "Put me on speaker." Zara hesitated, glancing at Gregory, who was watching her with undisguised contempt. "Put me on speaker now, Zara," Malcolm repeated, his attorney voice emerging. "I want to hear exactly what's happening." Zara pressed the speaker button, holding the phone where her father's voice could be clearly heard. "Hello," Malcolm's deep, authoritative voice projected from the phone. "This is Malcolm Washington, Zara's father." "To whom am I speaking?" Gregory scoffed. "Unbelievable. Now I have to deal with a phone call too." "Sir, may I have your name?" Malcolm asked, his tone professionally firm. "That's none of your business," Gregory retorted. Benjamin leaned forward. "His name is Gregory Harrington. He's been harassing your daughter since boarding." "Thank you," Malcolm replied. "Mr. Harrington, I want to make something very clear. I am a civil rights attorney with Washington Legal Group in Atlanta. My daughter has every right to be in her assigned seat without harassment or discrimination." Gregory's eyebrows rose slightly, but his smirk remained. "A lawyer?" "Sure you are. And I'm the Attorney General. You can Google me if you like," Malcolm continued calmly. "What you can't do is continue to harass my 15-year-old daughter on this flight. She is traveling to represent Georgia at the National Youth Science Symposium, and she purchased her premium economy ticket legally, just as you did." Alicia, who had stepped away briefly to consult with another flight attendant, returned to find the confrontation now involving a phone call. "I'm sorry, but we're preparing for departure. All phones need to be switched to airplane mode or powered off." Gregory smiled triumphantly. "You heard her. End the call. Ma'am, Malcolm's voice addressed the flight attendant. My name is Malcolm Washington. My daughter Zara is being subjected to racial discrimination by the man in seat 14C. I'd like to speak with the captain immediately. Alicia looked flustered. Sir, the captain is preparing for takeoff. I can take a message. This is not a message situation, Malcolm interrupted firmly. This is a civil rights violation occurring on your aircraft. Delta Airlines has a legal obligation to protect passengers from discrimination. If necessary, I will contact Delta's corporate headquarters, where I've worked with their legal team on previous discrimination cases. The mention of corporate legal connections caused Alicia's professional expression to falter. Let me see what I can do, she said, hurrying toward the front of the aircraft. Gregory's confident demeanor wavered slightly. You're bluffing, he said to the phone. This is ridiculous. Mr. Harrington, Malcolm continued, I am recording this call, and my daughter is recording your behavior. Every comment you've made is documented. I'm giving you one opportunity to apologize and cease your harassment before this becomes a much larger issue for both you and potentially your employer. Gregory's face flushed with anger. Are you threatening me? You have no idea who I am or who I work for. Harrington Capital Investments, Malcolm replied calmly. You're wearing your company pin on your lapel. My firm has contacts with several board members there. Would you like me to call them next? The specific knowledge seemed to startle Gregory momentarily, though Zara knew her father had simply made an educated guess based on the HCI pin visible on Gregory's suit jacket. This is harassment, Gregory sputtered, loud enough for nearby passengers to hear. I'm being threatened by these people. Several passengers who had been witnessing the entire exchange exchanged glances. A woman 2 rows ahead turned around, no longer pretending not to listen. The only person creating a disturbance here is you, sir, she said pointedly to Gregory. Meanwhile, Zara noticed her phone screen lighting up with another incoming call. The caller ID read, Delta Airlines Corporate. Dad, someone from Delta Corporate is calling, she said, surprised. Put me on hold and answer it, Malcolm instructed. That would be Patricia Edwards, General Counsel. Zara switched calls, her hand trembling slightly. Hello. Zara Washington, a professional female voice asked. This is Patricia Edwards from Delta Airlines. I just spoke with your father. Can you confirm you're on flight 2817 to Boston, seat 14A? Yes, ma'am, Zara replied. I understand there's a situation involving discrimination from another passenger. We're contacting the captain now. Is the flight attendant still nearby? She went to speak with the captain, Zara explained. Good. Please stay on the line. Gregory, watching Zara's conversation with increasing agitation, had pulled out his own phone and was frantically texting someone. His earlier confidence had crumbled into defensive anger. This is outrageous, he muttered. A complete overreaction. I'm going to sue for defamation. Benjamin, who had remained quietly supportive throughout the confrontation, spoke up. Sir, multiple passengers have witnessed your behavior. I'm not sure what you think you're going to sue about. Gregory jabbed a finger toward Benjamin. You stay out of this. This is none of your concern. Actually, Benjamin replied calmly, when someone is being harassed in front of me, it becomes my concern. The intercom system crackled to life. This is Captain James Reynolds speaking. We're experiencing a slight delay in our departure. I apologize for the inconvenience and ask for your patience as we address a situation on board. Flight attendants, please prepare for a security check. The announcement sent a ripple of murmurs through the cabin. Gregory's face paled slightly as he realized that situation was his behavior. Alicia returned to row 14, her professional demeanor now reinforced with newfound authority. Mr. Harrington, the captain would like to speak with you. This is absurd, Gregory protested. We're delaying an entire flight because this girl can't handle sitting next to someone with standards. What do you think of Gregory's behavior so far? Type 1 in the comments if you believe Zara handled this situation with remarkable composure. Hit the like button if you've ever witnessed discrimination and wish you'd spoken up. Subscribe if you want to see more stories about standing up against injustice. Is Gregory about to face consequences for his actions? What would you have done in Zara's place? Let's see what happens when the captain gets involved. Malcolm Washington paced the length of his office, phone pressed firmly to his ear. The framed diplomas and legal certifications on the wall, Harvard Law, Supreme Court Bar Admission, Civil Rights Advocate of the Year, were mere background blur as he focused entirely on his daughter's voice through the speaker. "Dad, I don't know what to do," Zara had said, her usually confident voice wavering. "He won't stop. He keeps saying I don't belong here." Malcolm had felt a familiar mixture of rage and heartbreak, emotions he'd learned to channel productively through years of fighting discrimination in courtrooms. But this was different. This was his daughter, alone on a plane, facing the very prejudice he had tried to prepare her for while simultaneously hoping she'd never experience it. "I'm putting you on speaker," he told Patricia Edwards, Delta's general counsel, who had called him back after his initial contact with their corporate office. Malcolm had Patricia on his office line while keeping Zara on his cell phone. "I have my daughter on the other line," he informed Patricia. "The situation is ongoing and escalating. This passenger, Gregory Harrington, is creating a hostile environment based explicitly on race." Patricia's voice was crisp and decisive. "I'm contacting Captain Reynolds directly. This violates multiple airline policies. We have zero tolerance for passenger-to-passenger discrimination." Malcolm switched back to his call with Zara. "Stay calm and keep recording. Help is coming." The years of professional relationship building were paying off in this moment of crisis. As one of Atlanta's prominent civil rights attorneys, Malcolm had worked with Delta on several discrimination cases, helping the airline improve their policies and training after incidents involving staff. Patricia Edwards had been his main contact, and they had developed a mutual respect through their professional interactions. Within minutes of Malcolm's initial call to Delta's corporate offices, Patricia had identified the flight, contacted the pilots directly, and initiated the airline's discrimination response protocol. The speed of the response was a testament to both Malcolm's connections and Delta's improved procedures for handling such incidents. Now Malcolm could hear the confrontation continuing through Zara's phone. Gregory Harrington's voice grew louder, more indignant as he realized the situation was slipping from his control. "This is all a misunderstanding," Gregory was saying, his tone suddenly conciliatory as Alicia informed him the captain wanted to speak with him. "I never said anything about race." Malcolm heard Benjamin's voice cut in. "That's simply not true. You've made multiple comments implying she didn't belong in premium economy because of her race." "Sir," Alicia addressed Gregory, "the captain needs to speak with you now." "This is ridiculous," Gregory protested. "We're delaying an entire flight because of this." Malcolm took a deep breath, then spoke clearly into his phone. "Mr. Harrington, this is Malcolm Washington again. Let me be absolutely clear about what's happening. You are not being accused of a misunderstanding. You are being held accountable for specific discriminatory behavior that violates airline policy, federal aviation regulations, and potentially civil rights law." Gregory's tone shifted to one of defensive outrage. "You're recording me without my consent. That's illegal." "Georgia is a one-party consent state, Mr. Harrington," Malcolm replied evenly. "My daughter has every legal right to record interactions that concern her safety and civil rights. Now, I suggest you comply with the flight attendant's request to speak with the captain." The legal knowledge clearly caught Gregory off guard. In the background, Malcolm could hear murmurs from other passengers, the atmosphere on the plane shifting as people began to understand the situation. "Dad," Zara's voice came through, slightly steadier now, "Ms. Edwards from Delta Corporate is still on the other line." "Put her through," Malcolm instructed. Patricia's voice joined the call. "Mr. Washington, I've spoken directly with Captain Reynolds. He's been briefed on the situation and is implementing our passenger discrimination protocol. He'll be coming to assess the situation personally. Thank you, Patricia, Malcolm replied, relief evident in his voice. Malcolm heard Gregory scoff in the background. Corporate office? Captain? This is completely blown out of proportion. Sir, please come with me, Alicia's voice was firm. Through the phone, Malcolm could hear movement, presumably Gregory finally leaving his seat to speak with the captain. He used the opportunity to check on Zara. Are you okay? He asked, his voice softening from attorney to father. I'm managing, Zara replied, and Malcolm could hear the emotional control in her voice, the same discipline he himself used in difficult courtroom situations. I just wanted to fly to my competition, Dad. I didn't want all this. I know, sweetheart. None of this is your fault. Malcolm felt the familiar ache of a parent unable to shield their child from the world's harshness. How's the passenger beside you? Benjamin, was it? He's been really supportive, Zara confirmed. He stood up for me when no one else would. In the background, Malcolm could hear Benjamin saying, just doing what anyone should do. Malcolm made a mental note to find a way to thank this stranger who had allied with his daughter when she needed support. Patricia Edwards spoke again. Captain Reynolds will be making his assessment shortly. Given the information we have, and the airline's policies, I anticipate Mr. Harrington will be removed from the flight. Will that delay Zara's arrival in Boston significantly? Malcolm asked, concerned about his daughter's competition schedule. The delay should be minimal, Patricia assured him. I've already arranged for Zara to be upgraded to first class for the remainder of her journey, and will ensure she has priority deplaning in Boston. Malcolm nodded, though neither woman could see him. Thank you, Patricia. I appreciate Delta taking this seriously. Discrimination has no place on our aircraft, Patricia replied firmly. And truthfully, Malcolm, the work we've done together over the past few years has helped strengthen our protocols for exactly this type of situation. Through Zara's phone, Malcolm could hear the atmosphere in the cabin changing. Passengers were talking among themselves, and there seemed to be movement near the front of the plane. Something's happening, Zara reported. The captain is coming down the aisle. Malcolm pictured the scene, his daughter, alone but standing her ground with quiet dignity, about to see justice in action. His chest tightened with a mixture of pride and lingering anger at what she'd had to endure. I'm right here with you, he assured her, wishing he could be there physically but knowing his legal intervention had perhaps been more powerful than his physical presence could have been. The next voice Malcolm heard through the phone was new, authoritative but calm. Miss Washington. I'm Captain James Reynolds. I understand there's been a situation here that needs my attention. As Malcolm listened to the captain's arrival, he silently thanked the network of professionals and allies that had allowed him to protect his daughter from hundreds of miles away. It was a bittersweet victory, one that should never have been necessary, but one that demonstrated the power of preparation, documentation, and knowing how to navigate systems of authority. Most importantly, it was showing Zara that she was not powerless against discrimination, a lesson Malcolm had always hoped to teach through example rather than experience. Captain James Reynolds moved with deliberate authority down the aisle of the Boeing 737, his commanding presence causing conversations to hush as he passed. At 53, with salt and pepper hair visible beneath his captain's hat, he carried the gravitas of a man who had spent 3 decades in the sky and knew his aircraft was, legally speaking, his domain. Reaching row 14, Captain Reynolds addressed Zara directly, his tone respectful and professional. Miss Washington, I'm Captain Reynolds. I'd like to understand what's happening here. Zara straightened in her seat, her phone still recording. Thank you for coming, Captain. Since boarding, the gentleman in seat 14C has been making discriminatory comments, suggesting I don't belong in premium economy because of my race. He tried to prevent another passenger from sitting in his assigned seat and then attempted to have me moved to the back of the plane. The captain nodded, then turned to Benjamin. Sir, you're in 14B. Have you witnessed this behavior? Yes, Captain, Benjamin confirmed without hesitation. Mr. Harrington has made numerous comments implying that Zara received her ticket through a diversity program and stating that people like her don't belong in premium economy. His behavior has been blatantly discriminatory. Captain Reynolds surveyed the surrounding passengers. Has anyone else witnessed these interactions? A woman in row 13 turned around. I heard him say premium economy used to mean something while looking directly at her. His meaning was clear. An older gentleman across the aisle nodded. He was creating a hostile environment, Captain. No question about it. Captain Reynolds turned to Alicia, who stood nearby. And the passenger in question is currently waiting in the forward galley? Yes, Captain, Alicia confirmed. Miss Washington, the captain continued, I understand you have a recording of these interactions. Yes, sir, Zara replied, holding up her phone. I started recording after the comments became explicitly discriminatory. May I? Captain Reynolds extended his hand. Zara stopped the recording and navigated to the video file, then handed her phone to the captain. He watched for approximately 30 seconds, his expression remaining professional but his jaw tightening visibly as he listened to Gregory's comments. He returned the phone to Zara. Thank you. That's sufficient evidence of a violation of our passenger conduct policies. He turned to address the cabin more broadly. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the delay. I take the safety and dignity of all passengers very seriously. Discriminatory behavior creates an unsafe environment and violates both airline policy and federal aviation regulations. Gregory appeared at the end of the aisle, escorted by another flight attendant. His earlier confidence had morphed into indignation. Captain, this is a complete overreaction. We're delaying an entire flight over a seating misunderstanding. Captain Reynolds fixed Gregory with a steady gaze. Mr. Harrington, I've reviewed evidence that you've violated our non-discrimination policy. This isn't about seating preferences, it's about creating a hostile environment based on racial prejudice. That's absurd, Gregory protested, his voice rising. I never mentioned race. Sir, I've reviewed the recording, Captain Reynolds stated firmly. Your comments about diversity programs and statements that certain passengers don't belong in premium economy were clearly directed at Miss Washington's race. Gregory's face flushed. That girl was recording me without consent. That's illegal. As I'm sure her father already explained to you, Georgia is a one-party consent state, the captain replied evenly. More importantly, as captain of this aircraft, I have sole discretion over passenger conduct issues. Based on the evidence and witness statements, I've made my decision. Gregory attempted to regain control of the situation, his tone shifting to one of professional authority. Captain, I'm an executive with over 20 years of experience flying this airline. I've been a platinum member since 2005. Surely we can resolve this without further disruption. Mr. Harrington, your status with the airline doesn't exempt you from our conduct policies, Captain Reynolds replied. My decision is final, you will not be traveling on this flight today. A ripple of murmurs spread through the cabin. Gregory's face contorted with disbelief. You can't be serious, he sputtered. You're removing me because this girl felt offended? I demand to speak to your superior. As captain of this aircraft, I am the final authority, Captain Reynolds stated, his tone leaving no room for argument. You have two options, leave the aircraft voluntarily, or be escorted off by airport security. Either way, you will not be flying with us today. Gregory looked around, seemingly expecting support from fellow passengers, but found only uncomfortable or openly disapproving faces. This is outrageous, he declared. I'll sue this airline. I'll have your job. Captain Reynolds remained unruffled. That is your right, sir. Now, what will it be? Will you deplane voluntarily, or do I need to call security? For a moment, it seemed Gregory might continue to resist, but the captain's unwavering authority finally penetrated his indignation. Fine, he said tightly. But this isn't over. Please gather your belongings, Captain Reynolds instructed. As Gregory collected his briefcase and jacket, Captain Reynolds turned to Zara. Miss Washington, on behalf of Delta Airlines, I apologize for this experience. Our corporate office has authorized an upgrade to first class for the remainder of your journey. Zara blinked in surprise. Thank you, Captain. Additionally, he continued, we'll be providing you with priority deplaning in Boston to ensure you reach your science competition on time. Gregory, overhearing this as he gathered his things, couldn't resist one final jab. Special treatment. Typical. Captain Reynolds turned sharply. Mr. Harrington, that comment has just earned you a spot on our no-fly list pending review. Please exit the aircraft immediately. A flight attendant appeared with Zara's carry-on. Miss Washington, if you'll come with me, we'll get you settled in first class. As Zara stood to follow, several passengers around her offered supportive smiles. Benjamin reached out to shake her hand. Good luck with your competition, he said warmly. You handled this with incredible grace. Thank you for speaking up, Zara replied, feeling a wave of gratitude for this stranger who had chosen to be an ally when it mattered. As Zara moved toward the front of the plane, she passed Gregory being escorted toward the exit. He deliberately avoided eye contact, his posture rigid with humiliation and anger. Captain Reynolds returned to the cockpit after ensuring Gregory had left the aircraft. The public address system crackled to life once more. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We apologize for the delay and will be departing shortly. At Delta, we are committed to providing a safe, respectful environment for all passengers without exception. We appreciate your understanding. A smattering of applause broke out in the cabin. Zara, now settling into a spacious first-class seat, finally allowed herself a deep breath. She texted her father, he's off the plane. Captain was amazing. I've been upgraded to first class. Malcolm's reply came instantly, so proud of you. You stood your ground with dignity. Call me when you land. Love you. Zara tucked her phone away as the flight attendants began their safety demonstration. The anxiety and tension that had been building since she boarded began to dissolve. In its place came a realization, she had faced discrimination head-on and seen justice prevail. As the aircraft finally pushed back from the gate, 45 minutes behind schedule, Zara gazed out the window at the Atlanta skyline. She thought about neutron star collisions, how when massive celestial bodies meet, they create ripples in the very fabric of space-time. Today had been its own kind of collision, sending ripples through her life in ways she was only beginning to understand. The soft whoosh of the boarding door closing behind Gregory Harrington punctuated his unceremonious removal from Flight 2817. On the jet bridge, 2 airport security officers flanked him, their expressions professionally neutral as they escorted the fuming executive back toward the terminal. This is completely unacceptable, Gregory ranted, his designer briefcase clutched in a white-knuckled grip. Do you have any idea who I am? I'll have that captain's wings for this humiliation. The security officers exchanged a glance but remained silent as they continued their escort duty. One of them had witnessed dozens of similar removals during his career, passengers who believed their status or wealth placed them above the rules that governed air travel. Inside the aircraft, the atmosphere transformed almost immediately. Passengers who had been silent observers now engaged in hushed conversations about what they had witnessed. Some expressed outright support for the captain's decision. About time someone stood up to that behavior, an elderly woman remarked to her seatmate. In my day, we had to accept it. This generation deserves better. In first class, Zara Washington settled into her unexpected upgrade, a mixed bundle of emotions swirling within her. Relief that the confrontation had ended. Pride that she had stood her ground. Lingering anxiety from the public nature of the incident. And uncertainty about how this experience would affect her mindset at the competition. Flight attendant Alicia Reyes approached with a bottle of water and a warm smile that couldn't quite hide her discomfort. Miss Washington, is there anything else I can get you before takeoff? Zara sensed the unspoken apology in Alicia's attentiveness. During the confrontation, Alicia had initially suggested moving Zara rather than addressing Gregory's behavior directly, a common but problematic response that placed the burden on the victim rather than the aggressor. "I'm fine, thank you," Zara replied politely. Alicia hesitated, then lowered her voice. "I want to apologize for not handling the situation better initially. I should have addressed his behavior immediately." The unexpected acknowledgement caught Zara by surprise. "Thank you for saying that. The captain has instructed all crew to review our discrimination response protocols after this flight," Alicia added. "What happened to you shouldn't have escalated that far before intervention." As Alicia moved on to assist other passengers, Captain Reynolds' voice came over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We're now cleared for departure, and our flight time to Boston will be 1 hour and 45 minutes. We should arrive at Logan International Airport at approximately 1:15 p.m. Again, I apologize for the delay and thank you for your patience as we addressed an important matter of passenger conduct." The aircraft pulled away from the gate and taxied toward the runway. Zara gazed out the window, watching the ground crew become smaller as the plane moved. Her phone buzzed with a text from her father. "Just got off the phone with Patricia Edwards at Delta. They're taking this incident very seriously. Focus on your competition now. This is your moment." Zara smiled, drawing strength from her father's unwavering support. She typed a quick reply, "Thanks, Dad. Plane's taking off now. We'll call when we land." As the aircraft accelerated down the runway, Zara felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned to find Benjamin Cole standing in the aisle, having apparently made his way up from premium economy. "Sorry to bother you," he said with a gentle smile. "Just wanted to give you my business card before they make me go back to my seat. If you ever need a witness statement or anything for the record, please don't hesitate to contact me." Zara accepted the card, noting that Benjamin was an associate professor of sociology at Emory University. "Thank you for speaking up back there," she said earnestly. "Most people just watched." Benjamin nodded solemnly. "Unfortunately, that's all too common. My research actually focuses on bystander intervention in discriminatory incidents." He glanced back as a flight attendant approached, clearly about to send him back to his seat for takeoff. "Good luck with your competition. Your astrophysics research sounds fascinating." As Benjamin returned to his seat, Zara realized that this incident, distressing as it was, had also revealed allies. Her father's quick action. Benjamin's willingness to speak up. Captain Reynolds' decisive response. Even Alicia's belated but sincere apology. The plane lifted off, leaving Atlanta behind. Zara pulled out her laptop to review her presentation on neutron star collisions, determined not to let Gregory Harrington's prejudice distract her from her purpose. Meanwhile, in the terminal, Gregory stood at the customer service desk, demanding immediate rebooking on the next flight to Boston. "I'm sorry, sir," the customer service representative explained, her expression carefully neutral. "According to our system, your flying privileges have been suspended pending review by our Passenger Conduct Committee." "This is ridiculous." Gregory exploded, causing nearby passengers to turn and stare. "I'm a Platinum member. The suspension was authorized by Captain Reynolds and confirmed by our corporate office," the representative continued calmly. "You'll be receiving official communication regarding next steps within 24 hours. In the meantime, I can provide information about ground transportation options." Gregory's face flushed deep red as the reality of his situation sank in. Not only had he been removed from the flight, but his frequent flyer status, a badge of honor he regularly leveraged for special treatment, was now in jeopardy. More concerning were the potential professional repercussions. If word of this incident reached his colleagues at Harrington Capital Investments. He stepped away from the counter, pulling out his phone to call his assistant. As he waited for her to answer, a notification appeared on his screen. Someone had tagged him in a social media post. With growing dread, He opened the notification to find a post already gaining traction. Just witnessed a man, tagged, Gregory Harrington, removed from #Delta flight for racist harassment of a teenage girl. Kudos to Captain Reynolds for zero tolerance. #Flight freedom #No to racism. The post had been shared by a passenger seated 2 rows behind him, someone he hadn't even noticed. Attached was a short video clip capturing his worst comments and his undignified exit from the plane. Gregory stared at his phone in disbelief as the view counter ticked upward. The public humiliation he had inflicted on Zara Washington was now rebounding on him, amplified by social media's unforgiving reach. Back on Flight 2817, blissfully unaware of the digital storm brewing, Zara focused on finalizing her presentation. The first-class cabin was quiet and comfortable, allowing her to work without interruption. Midway through the flight, Captain Reynolds emerged from the cockpit for his customary walk through the cabin. He paused briefly at Zara's seat. "Everything satisfactory, Miss Washington?" he inquired. "Yes, Captain. Thank you again for your intervention." Captain Reynolds nodded. "It was the right thing to do. We have zero tolerance for that behavior on our aircraft." He hesitated, then added more personally, "My daughter is about your age and interested in physics too. What you experienced today was unacceptable, but your composure was remarkable." As the captain continued his inspection of the cabin, Zara reflected on how this disruption to her journey had revealed something important. For every Gregory Harrington in the world, there were people like Captain Reynolds, Benjamin Cole, and of course, her father, people willing to stand against injustice when they witnessed it. The flight continued without further incident, cruising at 35,000 feet toward Boston, where the National Youth Science Symposium awaited. Zara's thoughts gradually shifted from the morning's confrontation to the presentation that had earned her a place among the nation's most promising young scientists. By the time the captain announced their initial descent into Boston, Zara had mentally rehearsed her presentation twice and was feeling a renewed sense of purpose. This competition wasn't just about her research anymore, it was about claiming her rightful place in a field where people who looked like her were still underrepresented. As promised, when the aircraft touched down at Logan International Airport, a flight attendant approached Zara's seat. "Miss Washington, we've arranged for priority deplaning for you. If you'll follow me once we reach the gate, I'll escort you past the jet bridge queue." True to their word, Delta ensured Zara was the first passenger off the aircraft. As she stepped into the terminal, she spotted a woman holding a sign with her name, a representative from the Science Symposium who had been notified about her delayed arrival. "Zara Washington?" the woman asked with a warm smile. "I'm Dr. Chen from MIT, one of the symposium coordinators. We heard there was some trouble with your flight. Are you all right?" "I am now," Zara replied with growing confidence. "And I'm ready for the competition." As they walked through the terminal, Zara's phone buzzed with notifications. News of the incident was spreading, with several passengers having shared their accounts online. The #JusticeForZara hashtag was already trending in Atlanta. The morning's discrimination had been met with swift consequences, and as Zara headed toward the symposium that represented her future, she carried with her not just the burden of that experience, but the strength of having faced it with dignity and emerged victorious. The gleaming glass and steel structure of the Boston Science Center buzzed with activity as hundreds of young scientists from across the country gathered for the National Youth Science Symposium. Amid the controlled chaos of registration tables, equipment setup, and nervous participants reviewing presentations, Zara Washington attempted to focus on the task at hand. "Participant check-in is this way," Dr. Chen guided her through the bustling atrium. "Your preliminary presentation is scheduled for 3:30 p.m. in Hall C. That should give you about 2 hours to settle in and prepare." Zara nodded, clutching her laptop bag. The events on the plane seemed simultaneously distant and all-consuming, creating a strange emotional dissonance as she tried to shift her mind to the competition. "Thank you for meeting me at the airport," she told Dr. Chen. "I appreciate the accommodation." "Of course," Dr. Chen replied with genuine warmth. "The symposium is about celebrating scientific achievement, not testing your ability to navigate travel difficulties." She hesitated before adding, "Some of the organizers have heard about what happened on your flight. If you need any additional support or accommodations, please don't hesitate to ask." The realization that news of the incident had reached the symposium organizers sent a wave of unease through Zara. She had hoped to arrive as just another competitor, to be judged solely on the merits of her research. Now she wondered if she would be viewed through the lens of the discrimination she had faced, a concern that had followed her throughout her academic journey. After completing registration and receiving her participant credentials, Zara found a quiet corner of the center's cafe to check her phone. The screen illuminated with dozens of notifications, missed calls from her father, text messages from friends, news alerts mentioning Delta Airlines, and social media tags she didn't recognize. She called her father first. "Zara," Malcolm answered immediately, relief evident in his voice. "Are you okay? Have you seen the news?" "What news?" Zara asked, her stomach tightening. "I just got to the science center. The incident on your flight has gone viral," Malcolm explained. "One of the passengers recorded part of it and posted it online. It's been picked up by several news outlets in Atlanta, and it's spreading nationally." Zara closed her eyes, trying to process this information. "Dad, I'm supposed to present my research in less than 2 hours. I can't deal with this right now." "I know, sweetheart," Malcolm said, his voice softening. "That's why I'm on my way to Boston." "What?" "Dad, you don't have to. I've already boarded," Malcolm interjected gently. "Patricia Edwards arranged for me to take the next Delta flight after yours. I'll be there by 4:30. The knowledge that her father would soon be with her released some of the tension Zara had been carrying since the morning. "Thank you," she whispered. "Focus on your presentation for now," Malcolm advised. "I'll handle any media inquiries or other distractions. This is your moment, Zara. Don't let Gregory Harrington steal any more of your time or attention." After ending the call, Zara reluctantly opened a news app to assess the situation. The headline made her breath catch: "Teen scientist faces racism on Delta flight, airline takes immediate action." The article featured a still image from the viral video, capturing the moment Captain Reynolds had confronted Gregory. Below it was a quote from Delta's official statement. "Delta Airlines condemns the discriminatory behavior displayed on Flight 2817 and fully supports Captain Reynolds' decision to remove the passenger in question. We are conducting a thorough investigation and have temporarily suspended the passenger's flying privileges pending review. Delta is committed to providing a safe, respectful environment for all passengers without exception." Scrolling through the article, Zara found that someone had identified her as a finalist in the National Youth Science Symposium. Her research on neutron star collisions was mentioned briefly, along with speculation about how the incident might affect her performance in the competition. As she continued reading, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Zara, this is Benjamin Cole from the flight. I hope you don't mind me contacting you. A reporter from the Boston Globe reached out to me about providing a statement regarding what happened. I wanted to check with you before responding. Your privacy is important." The thoughtfulness of Benjamin's message, his recognition of her agency in this situation, contrasted sharply with the way the story was unfolding online without her input or consent. She replied, "Thank you for checking. It's okay to provide a factual statement about what you witnessed. I'm focusing on my competition right now." Setting her phone to Do Not Disturb, Zara opened her laptop and began reviewing her presentation one final time. The familiar equations and models of neutron star collisions provided a welcome refuge from the chaos of the day's events. Across town, Gregory Harrington sat in a hotel room he had hastily booked after being denied rebooking on another flight. His phone rang continuously, calls from colleagues, friends, and most alarmingly, the CEO of Harrington Capital Investments. When he finally answered the CEO's call, the conversation was brief and devastating. "Gregory, the board has called an emergency meeting," the CEO informed him without preamble. "You've been placed on administrative leave pending investigation." The video clearly shows you making discriminatory comments while representing our company with your HCI pin visible. This violates our code of conduct on multiple levels. James, this is completely blown out of proportion, Gregory protested. The video doesn't show the full context. What context would justify what I saw, Gregory? The CEO cut in sharply. A teenage girl traveling alone to a science competition was harassed to the point that the captain had to remove you from the aircraft. Our company name is now trending on social media alongside hashtags like #CorporateRacism. This isn't just about you anymore. By the time Gregory ended the call, the full weight of the consequences was beginning to sink in. His professional reputation, carefully cultivated over decades, was unraveling in real time on social media and news outlets. What had begun as what he perceived to be a minor confrontation over airplane seating had escalated into a public reckoning that threatened everything he had built. Back at the Boston Science Center, Zara was directed to Hall C for her preliminary presentation. The room was set up conference style, with about 50 chairs facing a podium and presentation screen. As a finalist, she would present her research to a panel of 5 judges and an audience of fellow competitors and science enthusiasts. Taking her place at the podium, Zara connected her laptop to the projector. As she waited for her introduction, she scanned the audience, noticing several people whispering and glancing in her direction. The incident on the plane had followed her here, creating an additional layer of pressure. Dr. Elaine Vasquez, the session moderator, approached the podium. Our next presenter is Zara Washington from Atlanta, Georgia. Her research explores new methodologies for analyzing gravitational waves from neutron star collisions. Zara is a junior at Frederick Douglass High School and has already published 2 papers in peer-reviewed journals. Please welcome Zara Washington. The applause seemed slightly more enthusiastic than for previous presenters, making Zara wonder if it was genuine appreciation for her work or heightened interest due to the morning's events. Taking a deep breath, she began her presentation. Thank you, Dr. Vasquez. Neutron star collisions represent some of the most energetic events in our universe, releasing more energy in a few seconds than our sun will emit in its entire lifetime. As she spoke, explaining complex astrophysical concepts and presenting her innovative analytical model, Zara felt herself reconnecting with the passion that had driven her research. The discriminatory encounter on the plane began to recede in her mind, overshadowed by the joy of sharing her work with people who understood and valued it. The judges asked insightful questions that challenged her thinking and pushed her to articulate the broader implications of her research. One judge, Dr. Neil Patterson from the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, seemed particularly interested in her methodology. Your approach to filtering gravitational wave signals is quite innovative, he commented. Have you considered how this might be applied to detecting primordial black holes? The technical discussion pulled Zara fully back into her scientific element, allowing her to temporarily forget about the morning's disturbing encounter. After her presentation, several fellow competitors approached to discuss her research and exchange contact information. No one mentioned the incident directly, but Zara could sense an undercurrent of curiosity in some interactions. As the afternoon sessions concluded, Zara checked her phone to find a message from her father, landed in Boston. Coming directly to the Science Center. Where should I meet you? She was typing a reply when Dr. Chen approached. Zara, your presentation was excellent. The judges were very impressed. She hesitated before adding, there's something else you should know. Captain Reynolds from your flight this morning has contacted the symposium. He's asked if he could attend tomorrow's final round, assuming you advance, which seems highly likely based on the judge's feedback. Zara looked up in surprise. Captain Reynolds wants to come to the symposium? Dr. Chen nodded. He mentioned that his daughter is interested in astrophysics and thought this would be a meaningful experience for both of them. Of course, it's entirely up to you whether you're comfortable with his attendance. The unexpected connection, that the captain who had stood up for her also had a daughter with similar interests, struck Zara as a powerful reminder of the web of human relationships that extended beyond the scientific principles she studied. Yes, she decided. I'd be honored if Captain Reynolds and his daughter attended. As Zara exited the presentation hall, she spotted her father in the atrium, his tall figure standing out among the crowds of young scientists and their mentors. When he saw her, his face lit up with a mixture of pride and concern. Their embrace conveyed everything words couldn't: his worry, her resilience, their shared understanding of what it meant to face discrimination and refuse to be diminished by it. "How did it go?" Malcolm asked when they finally separated. "I think it went well," Zara replied, genuinely smiling for the first time that day. "The judges asked great questions, and my methodology seemed to really interest them." "And how are you doing with everything else?" Malcolm asked, his voice lowered. Zara considered the question carefully. "It's been a lot. But I'm not letting it derail me." Malcolm nodded, squeezing her shoulder. "That's my girl." As they headed toward the exit, planning to have dinner and discuss the day's events more privately, Zara's phone buzzed with a notification. Benjamin Cole had forwarded her an email he'd received from the Delta corporate office. "Dear Mr. Cole, thank you for your witness statement regarding the incident on Flight 2817. In light of this event and similar reports, Delta Airlines is announcing a new initiative to strengthen our anti-discrimination policies and training. Additionally, we are establishing the Delta STEM Scholarship for Underrepresented Youth, which will provide financial support to minority students pursuing careers in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We would appreciate the opportunity to speak with Miss Washington about being an honorary first recipient and possible advisor for this program, should she be interested after her competition concludes. Sincerely, Patricia Edwards, General Counsel, Delta Airlines." Zara showed the email to her father, who read it with a thoughtful expression. "They're trying to make something positive come from this," he observed. "What do you think?" Zara considered the question as they stepped outside into the cool Boston evening. The incident that had begun as an act of discrimination was transforming into something unexpected, a potential platform for change. "I think," she said slowly, "that neutron star collisions don't just destroy. They create new elements that spread throughout the universe. Maybe this collision will create something new too." Malcolm smiled at his daughter's astronomical metaphor. "I think you might be right." As they walked toward their hotel, Zara's mind turned to the final round of presentations scheduled for tomorrow. Despite the tumultuous day, or perhaps because of it, she felt a new dimension to her research taking shape, one that connected the cosmic phenomena she studied to the human experience in ways she hadn't previously considered. The preliminary results would be announced in the morning, determining which 5 finalists would advance to the championship round. Despite the day's distractions, Zara felt cautiously confident that her name would be among them. The grand auditorium of the Boston Science Center hummed with anticipation as hundreds of attendees settled into their seats for the championship round of the National Youth Science Symposium. 5 finalists had been selected from the preliminary presentations, and Zara Washington's name had been announced first, a clear indication of how her research had impressed the judges. Seated in the front row, Malcolm Washington adjusted his tie, pride evident in his posture. Beside him sat Captain James Reynolds, out of uniform but still carrying himself with the same quiet authority that had defused the situation on Flight 2817. Next to the captain was his 16-year-old daughter, Eliza, who clutched a program with Zara's name circled in bold marker. "Dad, do you think she'll mention what happened on the plane?" Eliza whispered. Captain Reynolds shook his head. "This is about her science. That's where her focus belongs." Malcolm overheard and nodded in agreement, though privately he wondered how the experience might have shaped Zara's thinking. They hadn't discussed her final presentation in detail, he had wanted to give her space to process everything and make her own decisions about how to proceed. Backstage, Zara reviewed her slides one last time. The presentation had evolved since yesterday. The core science remained the same, her groundbreaking work on neutron star collisions, but she had reframed certain aspects, drawing new parallels between cosmic phenomena and human experience. Dr. Chen approached, clipboard in hand. "You're presenting last, Zara." The judges were so impressed with your preliminary work that they've given you the anchor position. Going last was both an honor and a challenge. It meant the judges saw her as a top contender, but also that the audience would be comparing her work to 4 outstanding presentations that preceded hers. "Thank you," Zara replied, taking a deep breath. "I'm ready." The championship round began with presentations on quantum computing, biodegradable plastics, genetic markers for early cancer detection, and a new algorithm for predicting earthquake aftershocks. Each finalist demonstrated exceptional scientific rigor and innovation, raising the bar for Zara's concluding presentation. Finally, Dr. Vasquez returned to the podium. Our final presenter today is Zara Washington from Atlanta, Georgia, with her research on perspective shifts in gravitational wave analysis, new methodologies for understanding neutron-star collisions. Please welcome Zara Washington. As Zara took the stage, polite applause filled the auditorium. She connected her laptop to the projector, and the first slide appeared, a stunning visualization of 2 neutron stars in the moments before collision. "Thank you, Dr. Vasquez, esteemed judges, fellow scientists, and guests," Zara began, her voice steady and confident. "What you're seeing is a simulation of GW170817, a neutron star collision detected in 2017 that revolutionized our understanding of gravitational waves." She advanced to the next slide, showing traditional data analysis methods. "For decades, we've analyzed these cosmic events using established methodologies that have yielded tremendous insights. But today, I want to challenge us to shift our perspective." Zara clicked to a new slide that represented her innovative approach, a multidimensional analysis framework that revealed previously undetectable patterns in gravitational wave data. By changing our viewpoint, by questioning established assumptions about how we interpret these signals, we can discover entirely new information hidden within data we've already collected. As she proceeded through her presentation, Zara's confidence grew. The technical aspects of her research flowed seamlessly, but she had added something new, a broader context that connected her scientific work to human experience. "Neutron-star collisions are cosmic events of extraordinary violence and beauty," she explained, displaying a visualization of the aftermath of such a collision. "When these massive bodies collide, they destroy each other, yes, but they also create something new. The resulting explosion seeds the universe with heavy elements like gold and platinum, elements essential to life and civilization as we know it." She paused, letting the significance of this fact resonate with the audience. What appears catastrophic from one perspective becomes generative from another. The ability to shift perspectives, to see beyond immediate destruction to longer-term creation, is valuable not just in astrophysics, but in how we approach challenges in science and society. Zara didn't explicitly mention the incident on the plane, but the parallel was there for those who understood. She had taken a discriminatory encounter and transformed it, not minimizing the injustice, but refusing to let it define her story or limit her contribution. As Zara concluded her presentation, the auditorium erupted in enthusiastic applause. The judges' questions that followed were rigorous but engaged, pushing her to expand on both the technical innovations and broader implications of her work. When the final question had been answered, Dr. Vasquez announced that the judges would deliberate for 30 minutes before announcing the winner. Zara returned to the audience, taking her seat beside her father. "That was remarkable," Malcolm whispered, squeezing her hand. "You found a way to integrate everything without compromising your science." "I realize they're connected," Zara replied quietly. "How we see the universe and how we see each other, it's all about perspective and being willing to challenge assumptions." Captain Reynolds leaned forward. "Miss Washington, that was exceptional. My daughter has some questions about your methodology, if you wouldn't mind speaking with her during the break." Zara smiled at Eliza, recognizing the keen scientific curiosity in the younger girl's eyes, the same hunger for understanding that had driven her own journey into astrophysics. As the three of them engaged in animated discussion about neutron stars and gravitational waves, Benjamin Cole approached their row, having traveled to Boston specifically to attend the final round. "I hope I'm not interrupting," Benjamin said warmly. "I just wanted to congratulate you on an incredible presentation, Zara. The way you connected cosmic phenomena to human perspective was brilliant. Professor Cole, Zara greeted him, surprised. You came all the way to Boston. I wouldn't have missed it, Benjamin replied. Besides, I'm giving a guest lecture at Boston University tomorrow on bystander intervention in discriminatory incidents. Your experience has become something of a case study. Malcolm extended his hand. Malcolm Washington. I want to thank you personally for standing up for my daughter on that flight. As they conversed, a Delta Airlines representative approached their group. Miss Washington. I'm Jennifer Lawson from Delta's Corporate Communications. Patricia Edwards asked me to deliver this in person. She handed Zara an envelope bearing the Delta logo. Inside was an official letter announcing the establishment of the Delta STEM Scholarship for Underrepresented Youth, with Zara Washington named as the inaugural recipient and honorary advisor. We'd like to issue a formal announcement at the conclusion of today's competition, if that's acceptable to you, Jennifer explained. Before Zara could respond, Dr. Vasquez returned to the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, the judges have reached their decision. Please return to your seats. The auditorium quickly quieted as anticipation filled the room. Dr. Vasquez opened an envelope with deliberate ceremony. The National Youth Science Symposium is proud to present this year's first-place award to Zara Washington, for her groundbreaking work on perspective shifts in gravitational wave analysis. The audience erupted in applause as Zara, momentarily stunned, rose from her seat. Her father enveloped her in a quick, fierce hug before she made her way to the stage. Accepting the crystal trophy, Zara stepped to the podium, the events of the past 36 hours swirling through her mind like cosmic dust forming a new star. Thank you to the judges and organizers for this tremendous honor, she began. Science has always been about questioning assumptions and shifting perspectives to discover new truths. Sometimes those shifts happen in laboratories and observatories. Sometimes they happen in unexpected places, like airplanes. A ripple of knowing murmurs passed through the audience. Yesterday, I experienced discrimination while traveling to this competition. Today, I stand before you as a first-place winner. The connection between these events isn't coincidental. Both reminded me that how we see events, whether cosmic or human, determines what we learn from them. She glanced at her father, whose eyes shone with pride. I'd like to thank my father, Malcolm Washington, who taught me to stand up for myself while never losing sight of my goals. Captain James Reynolds, whose decisive leadership demonstrated how authority can be used to protect dignity and ensure justice. Professor Benjamin Cole, who showed that being a bystander doesn't mean standing by silently. And Delta Airlines, for transforming an unfortunate incident into an opportunity to support future scientists from underrepresented backgrounds. As Zara concluded her acceptance speech, the announcement of the scholarship program was met with another round of enthusiastic applause. Several news outlets present at the event immediately began reporting on the dual story, a brilliant young scientist's triumph and the positive corporate response to an act of discrimination. In the days that followed, the viral video of Gregory Harrington's removal from Flight 2817 continued to spark national conversation about discrimination in public spaces. Gregory himself, after losing his position at Harrington Capital Investments, issued a public apology that acknowledged the harm of his behavior, though skeptics noted the apology came only after significant professional consequences. Delta Airlines formally announced the scholarship program, with Zara agreeing to serve as an honorary advisor while continuing her education. Her insights would help shape a program designed to identify and support minority students with exceptional potential in STEM fields. Captain Reynolds and his daughter maintained contact with the Washingtons, forming an unexpected friendship born from a moment of principled intervention. Eliza Reynolds would later credit meeting Zara as a pivotal moment in her decision to pursue astrophysics in college. For Malcolm Washington, the incident became a powerful case study in his civil rights practice. He worked with Delta and other airlines to strengthen their anti-discrimination policies, using his daughter's experience to illustrate the importance of prompt, decisive intervention. 1 week after the symposium, Zara and Malcolm boarded another Delta flight for their return to Atlanta. As they settled into their first-class seats, a courtesy upgrade that had become standard for the Washingtons, several crew members and passengers recognized them, offering smiles of acknowledgement and respect. Captain Sarah Jensen's voice came over the intercom during her pre-flight announcement. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have some special passengers with us today. Dr. Zara Washington, recent winner of the National Youth Science Symposium, and her father Malcolm Washington are traveling with us in first class. Their story has helped strengthen Delta's commitment to ensuring respectful treatment for all passengers. We're honored to have them aboard." As the plane taxied toward the runway, Zara gazed out the window at the Boston skyline receding in the distance. The neutron star collision she had studied, violent yet generative, destructive yet creative, had become a powerful metaphor for her own experience. From the collision of prejudice and principle had emerged new opportunities, new connections, and a new platform for creating change. She opened her laptop, where a new research proposal was taking shape, one that would extend her analysis of gravitational waves while continuing to draw parallels between cosmic phenomena and human experience. The universe, in all its complexity, continued to offer new perspectives for those willing to question established assumptions and see beyond immediate appearances. As the aircraft lifted off, Zara felt a sense of certainty that had nothing to do with physics equations or data analysis. The incident that had begun with someone telling her she didn't belong had transformed into powerful proof that she belonged exactly where she was, advancing scientific knowledge while helping create a world where no one would be told they didn't belong based on the color of their skin. Zara Washington's journey teaches us valuable lessons about confronting discrimination. First, preparation matters. Malcolm had equipped his daughter with both legal knowledge and emotional resilience, enabling her to respond effectively when faced with racism. Second, documentation is crucial. By recording the incident, Zara created irrefutable evidence that prevented her experience from being dismissed or minimized. The story also highlights the power of allies. Benjamin's willingness to speak up transformed him from bystander to advocate. Captain Reynolds demonstrated how authority figures can use their position to uphold dignity and justice rather than maintaining a comfortable status quo. Delta's response shows how institutions can turn failures into opportunities for meaningful change. Perhaps most importantly, Zara's experience reminds us that discrimination doesn't define its targets. By refusing to let Gregory's racism derail her scientific pursuits, Zara maintained control of her narrative. She connected her research on perspective shifts in the cosmos to the perspective shifts needed in human interaction, finding deeper meaning in both. The ultimate lesson lies in transformation. Like neutron star collisions that create precious elements through violent destruction, negative encounters can generate positive change when met with dignity, courage, and the support of those willing to stand for justice. What moment in this story resonated with you most deeply? Was it Zara's composure in the face of discrimination, Malcolm's swift intervention from miles away, Benjamin's courage to speak up when others remained silent, or Captain Reynolds' decisive action? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever witnessed discrimination and wished you'd known how to respond? Like this video if you believe bystander intervention makes a difference in creating a more just society. Subscribe to our channel for more powerful true stories about individuals who transform adversity into triumph. These narratives remind us that while discrimination persists, so does the human capacity for courage, growth, and positive change. Share this story with someone who needs encouragement to stand up for themselves or others. Every time we amplify these experiences, we help create a world where justice becomes the expectation rather than the exception. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Zara's experience. May her story inspire you to examine your own perspectives, challenge unjust situations when you encounter them, and remember that sometimes the most powerful response to being told you don't belong is proving how much you truly do.